All right. This episode um, is going to be a little bit of a pivot. So, obviously, I named this thing Close the Gap. And the idea being that you're going to close the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And you're going to find skills and develop personal growth, internal development, yada, yada, yada. A handful of episodes about that. And I'm starting to feel like, here's some jalapeno chips. Um, I'm already starting to feel like this is going to paint me into a corner, and I don't want that. I don't want to be in a corner talking about the same thing forever. So I need to pivot a little bit to broaden what I can discuss. Now, obviously, I can come on here and talk about literally fucking whatever. I understand that. But if I build a presence around closing the gap and becoming who the greatest version of yourself, and then I come on here and talk about how super clipping in F1 is dumb and they need to fix the fucking cars, then everyone's like, I thought this was personal development, not an F1 rant, you know? Anyways, small example. So that that being what's been on my mind, I've been thinking about that, and I've listened to a few podcasts that kind of touch on like one of them was titled "If you hate your job, do this," um, and that guy basically just said if you hate what you do for work, then find what you enjoy and go do that. And it's kind of like no shit, buddy. Um, if I really peel back all the layers of Ryan and all the like hobbies I have and the things that I like I can't stop thinking about, like the things that consume me the most as far as like hobbies or things that I enjoy doing, it's cars. Now, I'm not sponsored by Red Bull or Ferrari or Mercedes or any other um, racing team, if you will, and I don't currently have the funds to go build a race car. So it's not quite as simple as that. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Um, but the point of this being that if you start doing something and you notice that something doesn't feel quite right, or you're kind of like, okay, well, I did this for a few weeks, and I've noticed that this is happening or that is happening, or I don't really like that I'm gonna have to talk about the same like personal development topics over and over again, and I'm naturally going to cover the same thing that I've already said maybe a dozen times, and I don't really like that. I don't like feeling like I'm painting myself into a corner. So what do you do? Well, you don't just be disciplined and I'm gonna show up every day. I'm gonna put out an episode a week and I'm gonna make the clips and I'm gonna keep doing it. Like discipline can mean stagnant. Discipline doesn't always mean that you will grow and evolve and do better. Discipline can mean that you stay in the wrong place for years. That's possible. You noticing that something is off, something's not quite right, is all the permission you need to change. No one's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, um, we've noticed that you seem off. You should go do this instead. No one's going to say, yes, Ryan, you have my permission to change the podcast, right? If it's yours, if it's your thing, or even if it doesn't even have to be a hobby, it can be I don't like that I don't go to the gym. No one needs to give me permission to do something about that. I just need to do it. And it's that way with everything. I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I'm a suit guy. I want to wear suits. And I could go get a couple suits and I could just start wearing suits. There's nothing stopping me. As long as I can go get suits, I can become a suit guy. I'm not going to do that, but you don't you don't have to be told that you can change and make a change. You can just make a change. And you won't know exactly what to do when you're making that change. The process won't be just black and white, you go from A to B. It's going to be like A to Z, and you got to figure out all the shit between it, the 24 letters between it, and that's normal. That should be expected. That you're gonna hit bumps, you're gonna have learning curves, you're gonna need to learn, and you might learn that actually, you know what, I don't really like the way suits look on me, and then I'm not gonna be a suit guy anymore. Like it doesn't matter that you went and bought 5 suits and then you wore them for a month and didn't like them. You don't have to stay in the suit. Take the fucking suit off. Same goes for your job. Same goes for your whatever habits you have or don't have. How you spend your time. If the people around you are drinking all the time and partying, and you kind of just do it because that's what your friends are doing, and you don't want to do it anymore, you don't need permission from any of them to stop doing it. Just stop. Now I understand you can't just stop. That's the whole part before this. But you have to make the decision. No one's going to do it for you. No one's going to give you permission. It all comes down to what you want to do and how you feel about what you are or are not doing. I know that that's way easier said than done. Trust me. I'm aware. As somebody that has started things and been like, well, I said I was going to do it, so I got to keep doing it, but I don't like it anymore, or it's not what I expected. Like, just change it. Make it so that it is what you want to do. Like, that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this. I started this thinking, okay, this is my plan. Bam. This is episode number 6. Guess what? Episode number 7, fucking name might be different. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna change it because that's what I want to do. I got this feeling that this isn't quite the direction I want it. It's directionally correct, but instead of like this, we need to go like this. And we still not might not be straight, but we're closer. The only way you get there is by choosing to move. The long and the longer that you stay somewhere that you've recognized is incorrect or feels off or not genuine or is something that you want to do different or be different on, the longer you stay there, the more it'll feel like you are a stranger in your own life. That from personal experience, you will feel like you don't know who you are, you don't know how you got here, and you don't know how to get out. And the longer you stay there, the worse that feeling gets. And also, you get worse uh, sunken cost fallacy. I've spent so much time doing this. Am I really going to start over? Am I really going to change it and potentially lose all of this progress? Yeah. Yeah. Lose the progress. Fuck it. Make the change. Be the person you want to be. Or at least try to be that person. Try to make progress towards that person. But if you recognize that it's not, the path you're on is not correct or not where you want to be, you just keep walking that direction, you're a fucking idiot. Not really. That's too mean. You are like most people. Most people, myself included, most people do that. You recognizing it puts you ahead of a ton of people. You making even one step in a different direction puts you ahead of even more people. Hell, you get 2, 3, 4, 5 steps down the road off of the path that everybody else is walking down because, well, that's just the path I've been on. Pretty soon, you're miles ahead. You're miles ahead of all the people that just kept doing what they were already doing because nobody tapped them on the shoulder and said, it's okay, buddy, you can do something different. That you're the person that does that. Your hand needs to go, you can change. It's okay. Nobody else's. That's just the truth of the matter. And it's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy. And there are certain areas of it that are harder than others. And it also wildly depends on you. One of the hardest things that for me to change is like my diet and eating habits. I love cake. and donuts and cheesecake and cookies and sweets and candy and nerd clusters, like, and peanut butter cups. Don't get me started. Bunt cakes? Fuck me. Cheesecake Factory? You get a nice vanilla bean. I once had a slice of cake from this place called Cat and Rabbit. It's in, I think it's in downtown Puyallup now. It was in Tacoma. And they had a wedding, it's called a wedding cake. It's like a chocolate cake with a buttercream, um, whatever you call it, filling, layered cake. The first time I ate that slice of cake, now I may have been altered at the moment. The first time I ate that slice of cake, I cried. Tears came out of my eyeballs. It was so good. So diet, eating clean is by far the hardest thing for me to change. And yours might be alcohol. It could be screen time. It could be video games. It could be binge watching TV shows. There's so many things that it could be. It could be doing a job that you don't want to do anymore. It could be following a hobby that you've lost interest in. It could be any number of things. And a different podcast that I listened to while pondering this talked about like self speak. Now, most of us have an internal dialogue. If you don't, you're a psychopath. Um, the way that you talk to yourself impacts you way more than you might realize. And that episode was um, it was Chris Williamson's podcast, Modern Wisdom, and it was Near IL, episode 1074, a masterclass in changing your limiting beliefs. If you if you tell yourself that you can't get up in the morning because you're just not a morning person, that becomes true. You are assigning a limiting belief to yourself. And the more you tell that to yourself, the more true it becomes. If you just don't say that to yourself or start telling yourself that you are a morning person, especially if you say Ryan is a morning person, not I am a morning person, although I am a morning person is better than I am not, if that's what you want to do. Um, it it will help you make that change. That same way that like that internal talk that doesn't get shared with people. If you're like me, where you think that you're just a fucking loser, nobody, fat, lazy, procrastinating, just just fucking cannot figure it out, can't get it together. Why would anybody want to be around you? If you have that voice in your head and you just let it say that to you, that's not good. That's that's not healthy. It just isn't. And you can change that. Now, that's hard. I am aware. This mirror behind me, these little, holy shit, it's all backwards. These little sticky notes, they used to say all kinds of negative shit. They used to say, loser, fat, lazy, good for nothing, no one loves you. And those were all like me putting my insecurities on sticky notes to visualize them. Guess what? It, it, it didn't help. So now I took away all the negative ones, which this mirror was filled top to bottom, so you can see how many there were. Because what's left is the positive ones. I have it's all just noise. I mean, everything around you is just noise. It doesn't need to be good or bad. You always reserve the right of not having an opinion. Let me try that again, so I said it. You always reserve the right to not have an opinion. Always. You don't have to feel a certain way about anything, even if it's something uh, popular in culture like the Iran, Israel, U.S., Iraq, fucking World War III controversy. You don't have to have an opinion. You don't. Honestly, it's probably better if you don't, because what what do we know, right? Unless you're high up in the government, and then you're probably not listening to this, but whatever. And then I have Ghost Inside lyric, life swinging hard, but I'm swinging harder. All right, I got hands too. Life, you heard it here first. The one below that just says work a whole bunch of times. Work, 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 because you need to outwork everybody, and that includes yourself. I think that I could hear some arguments on that one, but below that, be the person your kids think you are. They think I'm a fucking hero. I hope. They think I'm Superman. They think I'm fucking dad. I don't think that. Well, I think I'm dad. I don't think I'm Superman. And that's an impossible thing to live up to. But if you try, you will live up to it in their eyes. That's the strongest one there for me, obviously. And then the last one says, if God is with me, who could be against me? That one kind of explains itself. But for me, that helps me. That helps me, like, if I'm like extra stressy, lemon depressy, that one helps me. And it kind of ties into, I think it's like God gives his strongest battles to his toughest warriors. Now that's a little bit dramatic, I think, but the shoe fits, you know. So yeah, those limiting beliefs that you assign to yourself, the way that you speak to yourself, will absolutely keep you in a hole or help you get out of it. There was one on that episode. There was one thing where the guy, the two studies that he referenced. One of them, this guy decided that he wanted to unalive himself, so he took all of his medications. It was like SSRI, antidepressant medications. And then after he takes all the pills, he's like, I don't want to do that. I screwed up. So he goes to his neighbor's house, tells his neighbor that he overdosed on his medication, he took everything, but he doesn't want to die. The neighbor rushes him to the hospital. They're trying to figure out what he took. A little pill bottle just had like a number on it. Um, so they called the number, and they're like, "What? This guy took all of the medication. We're trying to figure out what he took." Turns out he was part of a uh, pharmaceutical, um, like test. I can't think of the word for it right now. Where prescription trial, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, he took sugar pills. He was in the placebo group." And the guy showed up at the hospital with, plummeting blood pressure. His heart rate was through the roof. His, sweating like couldn't stand. He's going through all the symptoms. Had all the symptoms that something was seriously wrong. They find out that he took a bunch of sugar pills, and they go and tell him that within 15 minutes he's totally fine. That's how strong your brain is. The other one, they had it was another, I can't recall, like recalls garbage these days. And he takes some alpha brain. Uh, the other study that he referenced, they were testing medication. They had three groups. They had a control group, they had a placebo group, um, four groups. Sorry, they had a control group, a placebo group that knew they were taking the placebo, and then the actual medication group. The the placebo group that knew they were taking the placebo still outperformed the control group. They knew what they were taking was bullshit, and they still did better. That voice in your head is way stronger than you think. And I'm not saying walk around talking to yourself in third person. You might run into other problems if you do that. But I think that's overlooked often. It's that internal dialogue, and especially if it becomes external, the way that you speak to yourself. I hate their name. Rain City Drive, another band. Their name is trash. Used to be called Slaves with Johnny Craig. Now it's Rain City Drive with the other guy. They have a lyric that says, "I wouldn't talk to a friend the way I talk to myself." Talk to you like you're your friend. You are. You're like a push comes to shove, you're the only friend you have. You know. So yeah, that's my rant. Episode 7 probably be under a different name. And it might change again. I don't know. You don't know. We're all gonna find out together.